All right, everyone, welcome back to Get NIST, the series that breaks compliance out of the checkbox trap and turns it into a real security advantage. No fluff, no FUD, just practical strategies to make compliance work for your MSP. I'm Jared Kasner, and I'm joined as always by my co-founder of Blacksmith InfoSec and co-host of Get NIST, Michael Zabarski. Today, we've got a special guest, a good friend of ours, Justin Esgar, joining us. Justin, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for the audience?
Yeah, hey, thanks so much for having me, guys. Hi, I'm Justin Escar, owner of Virtual Consulting Group, home of virtual computers. We're an Apple-based MSP based in New York City, but we cover the entire United States. You may have seen me. I'm the host of the All Things MSP podcast, as well as the new IT Nightmares podcast for Channel Pro. I host a conference. I've written books. I'm like a big name in the Apple world, but I'm trying to become bigger in the PC world. So you may not know me, but if you do, great. If you don't, hi.
Yeah. So many MSPs don't want to touch Apple with a 10-foot pole. So there's a very real possibility that our guests don't know who you are just because they are not Apple people. They are very much PC people. And I'll just say they're all missing out if they don't know anything about Apple because I've been on it. I have to tell you, actually, so this is kind of my quick aside before we jump into our topic for today. When I moved to Silicon Valley, God, it's 14 years ago now. They pried my PC out of my hands and gave me a MacBook, and I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do with this thing. And then within like 2 months, I was saying, how did I ever survive on a PC before this? I will never go back. So
I do joke around. Like I have a few clients who have like mixed environments, and like I go to hit Chrome on a Windows machine, and I hit Chrome again, and then I hit Chrome again, and then I hit Chrome again because it's not opening. All of a sudden, there's like 17 Chrome windows. I'm like, how do you survive like this? And most people are just like, oh, we're just used to it. And I'm like, that's not a good enough answer for me. So yeah. Well, on that, I just came from an event a couple of weeks ago where we're promoting this product to help Windows MSPs, and somebody just came up to me and he's like, "What do you guys do?" And we're like, "Oh, we take care of Macs. We want to help Windows MSPs take care of Macs." He goes, "I hate Macs." I'm like, "Okay." Where on the Steve Jobs doll did you get touched? Like, I don't know how to help you. He was so angry. He's like, I wish they never existed. They're the bane of my existence. I'm like, dude, I don't work for Apple. Do you want a hug? Like, I don't know what to do in that situation.
hugs are well, ask for consent first.
Yeah, yeah. He
But
was
hugs
so
are usually
aggressive, and it was
appreciated.
like 7 o'clock at night. Also, Jared, like he was so aggressive for no reason.
Yeah, but buy him a shot of Malort, and that'll definitely smooth things over.
You should walk around with a scroll, Justin, that just has your own personal hug EULA on it. Whenever anyone needs a hug, just unroll it. Be like, here's my EULA for a hug. Do you want to accept this?
The terms and conditions of getting a hug by Justin when you are so angry for no reason about Mac computers existing in the world. Yeah. I wish that man all the best of luck. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, look, we've had MSPs tell prospects, "Oh, you're a Mac shop, but we can't possibly secure that. So step one, if you hire us, is that we're going to replace all your Macs with PCs." And so, don't get me started on that. But Justin, maybe that's a good place for you to start. Actually, what do you say to an MSP that tries to tell their clients, "Oh, hey, we can't possibly secure you if you're on Macs. So we're going to have to switch you over to PCs."
I feel like a lot of the times when PC MSPs do that, it's just because they find Macs to be so foreign. They really do treat Macs like it's a complete another language, and it really isn't. And I think there's so many parts to what makes the Apple ecosystem great especially when it comes to security, is how they built it. Like, sure, Macs are more expensive from the get-go, but the long-term price of it actually is about the same, if not cheaper than a PC. And IBM has like massive studies on this you can look up. Maybe it's a little bit more like, oh, it's a little more fruity, it's a little the curves and the colors and the whatever, like, okay, whatever. But when someone says like Macs are not good for business and I can't secure them, that's just coming from a place of unknown, because that's not true, right? I will say, as a longtime Apple user, and I did PCs for a long time as well, when I was younger, like, okay, Microsoft Excel is different on the Mac, and I'll give you that. If you need those like super advanced Excel features, like you're gonna do nothing but pivot tables all day long and whatever, fine. I that makes sense. Get a PC or use Excel online. But the Mac itself is inherently more secure than a Windows computer. for a couple of reasons. You have your baseline of what's inside the Mac itself, the chipset, the security enclave, how things boot, how software is allowed to run, what software is allowed to run, how you can't have software talk to other software. Everything is kind of sandboxed. And then you have obviously the security through obscurity rule, which is that because Macs have a smaller footprint, people aren't targeting them as much, right? If you were a threat actor, Jared, because you kind of look like one, who also fights fires when he's, not making podcasts, would you target 80% of the computers that are out there or 20% of the computers that are out there? Would you target United Airlines because they're all PC, or would you target that graphic design firm who has all Macs, right? So I think if Macs had a bigger footprint, that second piece obviously would go away, but that first piece can be leveraged so well that I don't think it would make enough of a difference. The intrinsic way the systems are built, down to Touch ID, Face ID, Optical ID, um, the sandboxing of how apps work, especially on like iOS and iPad OS, is leaps and bounds above anything that I think that's in the Windows world. And I think it's also really funny to see those Windows-based MSPs be like, I won't touch a Mac, but everyone at the company has an iPhone and they're fine with that, right?
Yep. Well,
It's
and
the
I
same
mean,
tech.
let me ask you like kind of the natural follow-up question. Do you know what the statistics are for how many out-of-date operating systems there are in the Mac world versus the PC world?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'd be willing to bet that like because Apple is that walled garden, they they force you to upgrade a lot more frequently, and they force you to kind of stay on the latest version. And quite frankly, this is one of the, again, good news, bad news side of things about a Mac is because they own the hardware also. If you're out of date, if your hardware is out of date and you can't run the latest version of software, like they're just kicking you out of the ecosystem basically. And like
Apple
now
does give us, I mean, Apple does kind of give us a lot of that information when we have meetings. So for those who really don't know me, Virtual Computers is an Apple-based MSP, but we're also a member of what used to be called the Apple Consultants Network. Now it's called the Apple Partners Network. So we're an Apple Premier Technical Partner. We're one of like 30 in the United States. And so we do get this information from Apple. Like Apple is big on the fact that their adoption rate for iOS 26, for example, is like something like 90%. And I think on Mac OS, it's like I want to say it's like in the 80s. There's very few reasons to hold back on operating systems. This is something I fight with in my companies because like we have a lot of devices that we manage. And when I see a device that's still on like an older operating system, I'm like, why does this exist? It's in our systems because it hasn't been turned on in 2 years, but it's there because the owner still has it. And we're like fighting with them to get rid of it. Apple's take on operating systems also is, I think, N-1. So they'll support they'll support one back for patches, unless it's like a crazy security patch. I've seen them drop like 001 updates for Mac OS 14 and 13 of recent, when Mac OS 15 is really the N-1 because 26 is out, right? So they are really big on this. And then they'll stop code signing the older ones. And so you can't get the updates. You can't even get them downloaded anymore. Like they're available in the App Store, but they won't install or anything like that. So if you have an older machine, you're stuck just buying a new one, which you probably want anyway.
Yep. Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got, I mean, my company, it wasn't that long ago that you were helping a company out where their elevator bank was still controlled by a Windows 98 controller. And they could not upgrade because it was going to cost them six figures to upgrade their elevator bank in order to get onto the latest operating system. And so, right,
I was joking around with Eric the other day I think we were recording our show, but we were talking about how all those self-checkout machines you have at like CVS and all your supermarkets are still running like Windows XP Special Edition. And that Microsoft is charging boatloads of support money because the company that makes those machines either refuses to update or knows that it doesn't work in Windows 11, like their software. You know what I mean? And that's also the biggest bite is always we're stuck on this OS because we have this ancient piece of software that doesn't get updated. Like I have a client who's on 10.15, not 15, 10.15. So we're talking about like 7 operating systems ago, because he's a big photography house and he's got, if I said millions of photos, Jared, I'm underestimating by the power of 10. And the viewer program he used that they're all coded in disappeared after 10.15. So he has to keep that because that's his entire business, right? I think with the advent of AI, and I don't really want to get into that too much today, but like we could probably move him forward into a more modern operating system, but he doesn't really want to pay the money. And that's the thing, right? You're beheld to that stuff. I think one of the benefits that Apple had over Windows for a long time, and obviously Microsoft has changed this, is that the operating system is free. Updates are free. They did away with charging for the OS updates, right? And so that really helped move everything forward. And as we're recording this, WWDC is in 7 days, so we're going to hear about Mac OS 27, which most likely will be, rumor mill is like more bug fixes for 26 than anything else. Mac OS 28 will be the next like overhaul. But from a security standpoint, 26, even 15 were very, very secure operating systems.
Yeah, I do have to say that there were quite a few bugs in the liquid glass or whatever that came out in 26, but they seem to have been ironed out pretty recently. But anyhow, Mike, Justin and I have been talking quite a bit here. Let me.
Oh, Mike's here. Holy crap. Hi, Mike.
Yeah,
we,
I know.
we still do have Mike here. He's nominally he's one of the co-hosts here, so like maybe Mike could let you ask some questions instead of me and Justin just nerding out on all things Apple here. So
Well, that's because I refuse to use Macs.
it's
So
because
no, there's a couple
you hate
things.
your life. I get it.
There's a couple things you said, Justin, that I think are there's reasons for it, right? As far as why MSPs are stuck in Windows world, because there was no good way to manage Macs for enterprise for so long. Now there is, but if you think 10 years ago, like there wasn't anything really, to my
Oh,
knowledge.
fine, yeah, fine. I'm gonna fight you on this one in a second. I'm waiting for you to finish. I'll be a
No,
nice
no, let's
guest.
fight. Let's fight. Throw your first punch.
Yes, not 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there wasn't a good way to manage Macs. When Apple released the MDM spec, mobile device management specifications, that's when taking care of Macs became significantly easier. And actually, it was probably around 2020, 2021, where the idea of MDM started to be said a lot by PC MSPs. For the longest time, Mac people, we had MDM for the longest time. Addigy, which is our MDM of choice, just celebrated their 10-year anniversary. I got voted and I won an award for most likely to have humor in a stressful situation, which I was like, that's the worst superlative I've ever gotten. But even prior to that, there were tools out there. There was Absolute Manage, which was then turned into Heat, LandRev, something like that. So we were taking care of Macs for the last 13, 14 years using some variant of mobile device management. The
Yeah,
spec that
I think
Apple
it's
created.
the
Sorry, yeah.
granularity and what can be managed. Because I can tell you, even what was it now to like 4 years ago, we were using Jamf to manage Apple devices, and there was a lot of stuff that we could not reliably do in Jamf that we could do on Windows machines through either Intune policies or whatever else. Um, and again, that could also be our setup of Jamf very easily, right?
Sure.
So I'm not here to dump on Jamf by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Yeah,
But
and just a
it's
quick fact check. Jamf has been around, by the way, since 2002. That was when they were first founded. So, like, Jamf has been around for a long time. So,
Yeah, Jamf is. You know how they used to say like you don't get fired for buying IBM. Like that's the way it is with Jamf. Like Jamf is the. In our world, there used to be 4 major players for MDM. There was Jamf, Addigy, Kanji, which is now Eru, which is now more security focused, and Mosel, which was originally for education but is leaked into the business side of things. In my personal opinion, Jamf and Addigy are the two. Jamf was the big daddy. Addigy was like the rowdy teenager. And so I, being a rowdy teenager, attach myself to Addigy in the very beginning. That's not to say there's anything wrong with Jamf. We actually are Jamf certified. I am a Jamf MSP. We have good friends who work there and stuff like that. And Jamf has actually helped pave the way for compliance on a Mac, which I know we want to get into. But I was always just into the way Addigy works. Addigy for us is MDM plus RMM together, because there's a lot of feature set within Addigy that we can do, like remote controlling the computer, live terminal, things like that. We can't do that in Jamf or in Mosel. And we never had been in the kanji interface. So this idea of managing those Macs, I mean, I started in 2004. I started virtual in 2008, but I was working for someone in 2004. And like, to manage a Mac, we would like open up ports on their firewall to do Apple Remote Desktop and take over their computers, or use something like Splashtop or TeamViewer or whatever it is. Once Apple released the MDM spec, and remember, it all started with them. Like, all of the MDM providers, which by the way are now called device management services, so Apple calls them DMS, all started from Apple giving you the specifications to do this with, right? Apple made the MDM spec to work on their own operating system, to work with their own security. So what makes it inherently secure is it's coming from God itself, basically. These are the 15, nope, 10 or 2, whatever was it? Oh, I bring you the 15, nope, 10 commandments, right? From the history of the world. It's their rules that Jamf and Addigy, Mosel and Eru, and a couple of small players have to follow. And to be honest, Intune is getting pretty high up there in terms of managing Macs. It's like 80% the way there. There's some nuance to it. But Apple has backed Microsoft pretty hard on Intune taking care of it. So the management of Macs has been around for a while. And yeah, the problem that I have with Windows MSPs is they try to manage the Macs the way they manage the Windows MSPs, in that same brainscape, and you can't, because you don't talk to someone in Germany the same way you talk to someone in Japan, right? There's nuance in language, there's nuance in the computers here. So a Mac could be secure, a Mac can be NIST compliant. If you want to get into it, I can have a Mac NIST compliant with documentation in 24 hours, pending on benchmarks. A Mac is a good device. And to be honest, I think the new MacBook Neo that they released is an amazing device for 90% of employees worldwide. I could replace, if I had an opportunity to come in, if I was going to reverse and go like, oh, you have PCs, then we're going to switch them all to Macs. Unless they're doing like video editing, like 8K video editing all the time, because most people do what, like Word and Excel and email. The $600 MacBook Neo, mwah, chef's kiss, no notes, would deploy that 100 times over, and it's secure, and it follows the same. It's got the same OS. Rules still apply, so why not?
Yeah, well, so let me poke at that just a little bit here, right? Because the Chromebook was essentially meant to be and again, say what you will about Google Docs and Google Sheets and things like that, but like the whole point of the Chromebook was almost all your employees are doing email, Word, and Excel, right? Like that's like 90% of our job functions these days, it seems like. And so why wouldn't anybody go to a Chromebook for $200 instead of a MacBook Neo for $600 versus a Lenovo for $800 or $1,000 or whatever, right? Like
The Chromebook argument is because, one, not all Chromebooks are made the same. People don't seem to realize this, right? Like, you can get a $200 Chromebook, but you can also get a $1,000 Chromebook. They're running the OS, but like the quality of the device itself is terrible. Like those $200 ones, like the ones that my kids get at school, like they're Dells, and they just feel ugly. They just work ugly. The keyboard is weird. The touchpad is weird. The actual like resolution on the screen is terrible. And it only runs Chrome. Here's one thing that I learned a long time ago, because we used to have a school that we took care of right around COVID, and Chromebooks have expiration dates. I don't know if you guys know this, that like if you manage Chromebooks and you go into Chrome management, there's a date there. That date is the date it no longer gets operating system updates. Period. End of story. And if you're past that date, guess what? You have an out of date, out of compliant, problematic computer that you spend $200 for that you're going to spend another $200 to buy another one because there's nothing you can do about it, right? The MacBook Neo, I bought one for my son just to check it out. It feels nice. It's a great, like, it's still the aluminum that Apple does, and it's got this great feel. It's got a sharp screen. The sound quality is good. And the OS goes beyond just what is in Chrome. We're a Google shop internally. Say what you will, and I look forward to your tweets and emails telling me I'm not a business professional because we use Google Workspace, but no, it's fine. But like being able to do more than just Google stuff, I think that's where the Chromebook fails, because it only does Google things and only does the apps that are available in the Google App Store. Like a MacBook Neo is a fully functional computer, right? You asked about an $800 Lenovo. Sure, you can do an $800 Lenovo with Windows on it, but then you still need Malwarebytes, antivirus, and like 7 other things to protect it, to make sure that your mom, who's probably going to be using it, doesn't click on the link that says your iPhone has been hacked. Click here to solve it, and they go, okay. Like instant virus on a PC. That doesn't happen on a Mac. So for a $600 device, $499 if you get the educational one, why not?
Yeah. So Mike, before you start throwing blows about Google Workspace, we're going to save that one for another episode. But let's get into the MacBook Neo, or like it. Mike, I'm sure you have some questions about compliance here that we want to cover off.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask a tangential question first before we hop into compliance.
Hit me.
When you and your closest friends get together to work on MDM policies, do you guys call it a Jamf session?
That's funny.
Oh, boo. All right.
In all fairness,
Mike,
though,
we're going to let the adults talk here.
Hold on. 2 things. One is I really want to know how long he was sitting on that one. And then 2, I've had clients call it a Jamf session before. Like, it's not it's Jamf. And the people who, like, a lot of people call it this. They call it Jamf. Like, no, it's Jamf.
No.
I was really wondering where you were going with that one, Michael. All right, so
to answer your question, ever since you said you were Jamf certified, it popped into my head. I've been patiently waiting for Jared to take a breath because he doesn't breathe, he just talks.
Jared, I think Michael's been voted off the island.
So I guess let's talk about what can MSPs actually do? Like, how do you actually realistically roll compliance out, right?
Sure.
To Macs. How do you do this at scale? How do you make sure it's enforced? There's issues with even Intune and AD where there's drift from the configuration. So what's the proper way to think about this?
So let's start from the very beginning of how this worked, is that the NIST organization, the governmental organization of NIST, the National Institute of Technology.
10 minutes north of me. They're 10 minutes north of me.
Perfect. Okay. So they worked with some very smart Apple admins to create this project called the Mac OS Security Compliance Project, MSCP, and the iOS Security Compliance Project, ISCP. And in that framework, it's on GitHub, so you can read up the whole thing and you can get all the spec and whatever. They built out the NIST compliant rules that one would have to follow if you were to do NIST compliance on a Mac. Once that came out, Jamf and Addigy were all over it. And so, because Jamf is only MDM, which means it's pushing profiles, it's pushing scripts, it's pushing policies, whereas Addigy has some additional capabilities, like I said earlier, with that RMM-like capability. They've taken how they do it a little differently, but the end goal is the same here. So here's how we do it, and we've done it for a couple clients now, and this is what we do. Number 1, we're not security experts. We actually partner with a cybersecurity firm to help facilitate this process. We've gone to that cybersecurity firm. We said, this is the compliance project. Read up on this. And here's what we want to do for these customers. Jamf has actually there's a free tool online. It's called the Jamf Compliance Editor. And what it does is it pulls the latest from the GitHub of the specs for what you need for NIST for that particular operating system into this system. And you can check off which benchmarks you want to apply and hit run. And it will actually at that in time produce all of the profiles, the scripts, and all of the documentation in PDF, Word, ADoc, which is used for auditors, and I think Excel for you for that ruling. So let's say we're going to use Kasner Co., okay, as our example company. I'll put in my cybersecurity firm has come back and said, these are the rules that you need to apply for your computers at Kasner Co. And the way I do this is I gave them all of the benchmarks and I let them go through the Excel document. And at this point, they've had a conversation with you and they know what you're about and whatever. Okay, fine. So they come to me and they say, Justin, anything marked in red is going to be applicable. Go for it. I say, fine. I will then take their listing in red. I will go back to the Jamf compliance editor and I will check off all the ones that need to be enabled and I'll hit run. And it will give me the documentation and everything I need to do for Kasner Co. And I will give you all your documentation. Part 1 is done. Part 2, we're an Addigy shop. Built into Addigy is NIST monitoring, not remediation. However, they also do have built-in CMMC with remediation, DISA STIG with remediation, CIS with remediation. You can play around with these rules, and basically all of the NIST rules fall into like one of those three anyway. So we will go into each set of those rules and pick out which rules apply from this list that we have and say, okay, apply no airdrop allowed for anyone at Kasner Co. And we apply that rule and it goes into the thing. So if we looked at the back end of Addigy, Kasner Co. is being compliant against 3 things, not just one, but the rules still make up at the end of the day. The nice thing about Addigy, and this is where Jamf doesn't have it, has the automatic remediation. Now, technically speaking, Jamf does have it because the policy is in place. You shouldn't be able to change it. But if you could in some way, shape, or form, Addigy has automatic remediation. So if you turned AirDrop back on, Addigy is going to tell you big fat no, turn it back off, plus open a ticket, give us a warning, let us know where we're at. It does monitoring of it, so it gives us like some nice dashboarding. These are the devices that are in compliance. These are the ones that are not. These are the ones that are passing. These are the ones that are failing. And here are all the rules. When I say that I can get a computer compliant in 24 hours, while I'm being slightly facetious, I'm really not. Because if I have all those rules and I had the time and I have my team like focused on this and nothing else, we could go in and I can go and apply all those rules right now and hit apply. Computer will take it in the next 30 minutes when it checks in, and boom, your computer is now, quote unquote, NIST compliant as per the rules set by the cybersecurity firm for Kasner Co. Done. Great. And that's it. Project's done. I charge you $20,000 to do it. The project's done though. And your computers, and you have compliant computers, you have documentation to hold it up, and everything you need to like be audited.
Yeah, one of the other things that I've noticed a lot of MSPs that I talk to is they're attending the support Macs. At least some of them don't have like an Apple Business Manager account. So there's no way to. I'm gonna use the Windows term of autopilot Macs, but autopilot Macs, right? Where you buy it straight from Apple, ship it straight to the user. It automatically knows to check in, to get registered with
automated device enrollment. Yeah.
So I think that's a big piece for them. I did not realize Addigy had like built-in CMMC compliant templates. Are they, do they end up being in scope? Do they have a FedRAMP? Do you know if they have like a FedRAMP version of it?
I don't off the top of my head. In fact, I'll look it up live while you continue talking.
Cool. And then I guess the other question becomes, what kind of reporting is there? Proving stuff over time, point in time? Can you say, hey, these devices have been compliant, or hey, this device fell out of compliance and then fell back into compliance half an hour later? Like, what kind of reporting do you have from a auditor standpoint?
Okay, so let's take it from the top. One, you're talking about Apple Business Manager, or now Apple Business. I'm going to come back to that one in a second. That is a big part to the Mac ecosystem, but there's a lot more that we're not even scratching the surface. 2, according to what I'm looking at here, benchmarks CMMC level 1, level 2 have last updated May 19th, 2026. So I'm assuming they're pretty up to date. And then the third question about the reporting that's all built into Addigy actually for us. So we get these dashboards, nice graphs, and we can actually export that data when required by an auditor, so we can give them what they need. So that's actually all built into the DMS of Addigy from the get-go. So let's talk about Apple. You mentioned Apple Business, which used to be called Apple Business Manager, but as of April 14th, they merged a bunch of services together. Now it's just called Apple Business. This is an easy, might always giveaway to people who run Windows-based MSPs, which is even if you don't have Macs in your environment, sign your company up for Apple Business or Apple Business Manager and claim their domain inside of this tool. Because from a security standpoint, let's talk about Kasner Co. Kasner Co. doesn't have Apple Business. I, as someone who doesn't like Jared, can go online, go to Apple ID, and go get Justin at KasnerCo.com, and there's nothing stopping me from doing it. There's nothing, zero. It is an unmanaged, what they used to call personal Apple account. If you have Apple Business Manager and you have claimed your domain, so let's say Jared has Apple Business Manager, claimed Kasner Co., done DNS verification, any Apple account that's out there, that is any unmanaged Apple account that's out there, gets pulled back, and Kasner Co. owns all of those again.
Nice.
What'll happen is I, as a bad guy, will get an email saying like, hey, I need to move myself to, I have an option now to move to a different Apple account or a different email, or I'm going to lose it in 30 days or 60 days, I forget. And that's it. So from a security standpoint, having Apple Business is free, number one, and claiming the domain is an hour of your time. Having that to stop threat actors from sending emails from a unmanaged Apple account with a domain, which you think like, how would that even be possible? Yeah, that's possible. Doing that like 1 hour of work will save so much trouble from the long run from a security standpoint. So that's part one. Part two is, yes, you do need Apple Business to do the whole automated device enrollment. The idea is that the computer turns on, it says, hey, this computer is owned by Kasner Co., click here to continue. And then it will get all of the spec that we put out from the mobile device management software, Jamf or Addigy, including apps, profiles, or whatever. It's not required, but it is if you want full supervision. You can have an unsupervised device that still is in management and still would get the rules. However, there are some rules in NIST that require supervision. So the only way to really do that is to have to have automated device enrollment set up the right way. So there's a couple of steps to get to where the thing I talked about earlier properly, but it's just time and a little bit of waiting more than anything else.
Cool. And then because we're talking to MSPs, and for the most part, I will say MSPs don't care about NIST; they care about CIS. What does that look like? Is there obviously there's a cross mapping between NIST and CIS in general? Do the tools offer anything currently for that natively, or is that something that you have to kind of build out yourself? Or
so you could work backwards. The Jamf compliancy editor only does. Oh, hold on, because I don't want to get like hit on by people like being like, you know what I'm talking about. If I do, I'm going to start a new project here for the compliance editor. Doing this live, folks. It's going into space. So I could do NIST, DSysTig, CIS, level 1, level 2, V8, CMMC, CNSI, NL all from the compliance editor.
okay.
So that already exists. And it's NIST 800-171, and then it also has 53 Rev 5, high, low, medium. And then Addigy has CIS levels 1 for multiple operating systems and level 1 enterprise for iOS. So it's in here already. So yeah, you can do the same steps that I mentioned earlier. You can do it for CIS.
Very cool.
But here, I will say this though, Michael. A lot of PCMSPs claim that they know security. This isn't something to like mess around with. If you even if you think you know security, this is something where you want to bring in an expert. I'm assuming like you guys or another cybersecurity firm to like write those benchmarks, because the one thing we don't want to be beheld to is the wrong benchmarks. I don't want my company to be on the chopping block because we set the benchmark incorrectly for NIST, and then when my client gets in trouble for whatever reason, and then they go, well, we're NIST compliant. Well, this benchmark is wrong. I don't need it to fall on me. So like, if you're not well versed in compliance, security, benchmarking, hire a cybersecurity firm to do that for you. then apply the work that they gave you. Because we're not an MSSP, we're an MSP, and people need to really know the difference.
You mean you don't just ask ChatGPT for what the compliance needs are?
No, I spend my time with ChatGPT coming up with new superheroes like Elevator Man. I'll tell you later.
A good
This
use of ChatGPT tokens.
this is the right way to use ChatGPT, by the way. And the new image generation stuff in ChatGPT is
It's so
like
good. It's so good.
chef's kiss. Oh man,
So good.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm still pissed that Claude can't do image generation.
Yeah, that's all right. It'll get there one day. I mean, could you? I wouldn't trust ChatGPT to like tell me which other remediations are correct or not, because obviously he doesn't know my client, so wouldn't know the benchmarks. I will, however, use Claude if I really wanted to like understand what a script is doing, or maybe tweak it to make it better, because I think Claude is better at coding than ChatGPT. But in either case, this isn't really a place for AI to get involved. It's one of the few places where I think AI should not be involved, because you don't want to be the guy holding the stick like at the end of the thing, saying like, well, the robot said it was okay. Like, the robot's not going to get in trouble. You are. It's going to be your company on the line when you realize that you didn't set the compliance properly.
I mean, the reality is, Jared and I talk about this all the time. There's a lot of places where AI should just not be involved, and it sadly is. And
Yeah.
there's nobody to pick it out. So
Yeah. Everybody wants it. Nobody knows what to do with it.
All right. So rather than going way down the AI rabbit hole again, because Mike and I do that often. Let me bring it back to Apple, right? Justin, you're telling MSPs out there that it's possible to be either an Apple shop or a hybrid shop and do both Apple and PCs and be able to be successful. If somebody wants to branch off, or they have a co-managed situation or a hybrid situation already that they're not managing effectively, where can they go to get more information?
Well, they should call me. I think that's where you're leading this.
Are you putting your cell phone number out there for everybody? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah,
If they
man.
want to
I'll
ask
give you my beeper number.
beeper number was 1992.
Actually, one of my employees just sent me this thing on eBay. It's a AirPods case, but it looks like a beeper, and it has like hello written out in the old number. It was really funny. There's a lot out there already. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. If you want to get into the Mac thing yourself, good. Apple has a lot of training online, training.apple.com/IT, I think it is. And there's two major certifications in the Apple world. There's device support and there's deployment and management. They're not easy tests. Apple makes them hard on purpose. Those are your starting points. From there, I would say pick an MDM and stick with it. Intune, like I said, will do a lot. Addigy does have tooling that will sit on top of Intune, so you can stay with Intune and use Addigy at the same time, which is really nice. There's some integrations there, and I believe Jamf has some integrations into Intune as well, especially for things like Platform SSO, which is a really nice feature. So pick an MDM and stick with it. I'm not a big fan of the idea of like you have to pick the right MDM for the right customer. I don't think that's true. I think you can, like, I've only ever really used Addigy for everybody unless they're coming to me with Jamf licenses, at which point we'll just stay in their Jamf. And get certified in it, because it is the training that Addigy and Jamf put out, having taken it all, because I've done all these trainings myself, is very useful. There's so much nuance inside of some of these MDM things that you will only ever get from a training course with them. So do that and get certified in something. So we're Jamf 300 certified. There's a 400 class, but we don't need that level of scripting. There's Addigy certified support professional, I think is their new one, something like that. We're that as well. We're also the only Addigy professional services company out there. So, but pick one and stick with it. It's the same thing. I say the same thing about your networking hardware. Like, be a Meraki shop or a Unify shop and like just go with it and like learn that. It makes it so much easier for your team than trying to learn 17 things at one time. If you don't want to do Mac and you have Macs in your environment and you are afraid of them, then call me. I'm your Mac guy. I've been around for 18 years. I have a team of 11. We're an Apple authorized service provider as well, which means we can fix the hardware out of our warehouse in Missouri. I've been doing this a long time. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm one of 33 or 30, I think they're up to 33 Apple premium technical partners. I know what I'm talking about. I've been around the block. Like I said, you may have seen me. Call me. virtualcomputers.com, or go to virtualcare for MSPs.com, which will tell you all about our like Windows MSP specific tooling. We do block hours. We make it easy. We want Windows MSPs to stop doing Mac wrong. We want them to understand that they can be handled the right way. And that's true of not only Mac, but also the iPhones and iPads, right? Because who's the number one offender at every company? It's always the CEO, right? The CEO typically also wants a Mac, because you got one Mac in your entire organization. It's the CEO's. You can't ignore the CEO. You can't leave that money on the table. Take care of them the right way and be the hero, and then bring in the support where you need to bring in the support. No, we'll work white label, we'll work agent level. I don't care. They don't need to know it's us, but we just want to make sure that all the Macs that are out there are being done the way they should be being done, as per the best practices that we have learned and that we have been taught by Apple itself.
Yeah. And one thing you said at the beginning that I'm going to kind of circle back to, in the early stages of the podcast when you were rambling, you said Macs just naturally are more secure, which is fine. One thing I will say, and I've seen this a lot of times, where people say Macs are more secure, so we don't need to configure them, and so like you still need to do stuff. I've seen people say, "Hey, Microsoft has a published BAA, so we're good." But no, there's stuff you have to do for your whatever to actually be HIPAA compliant, right?
Right.
There's stuff to do. You can't just be like, "Cool, Macs are more secure. We're done. We're good."
Yeah, 100% agree with that sentence. While Macs are natively more secure, that doesn't mean they're secure as per the environment you're putting them in, right? Yep. You would still need to do configurations to protect company data, to protect email. Like they're natively more secure from malware or virus or encryptionware, sure, or they're natively more secure because of the secure enclave and Touch ID and whatever. But that doesn't stop the device being secure on its own means nothing, because it's the human who's using the device that's causing the problem, right? Just because a computer is secure doesn't mean you're not setting up DLP policies to protect them from sending PII over their email, right? Whether it's a Mac or a PC, you're doing something to protect their email. It's the same thing. You need to protect the device from data leakage in some way, because like, I don't know the stats on it, but I think the majority of problems in a company are always insider threats, right? And so you can stop
coming from within the house.
The calls coming from inside the house, right? Yeah. Wasn't it a penguin in that commercial too? I think, right? It was penguin calling. The insider threat problem is what you're protecting by securing the device with compliance or procedures or security or whatever. Even simple stuff like turning on File Vault and escrowing the key is like another thing that it's not on by default. So to say a Mac is more secure, yes, I'm not lying. However, can it be even more secure or more secure? Yes. The answer is yes. Yes, yes, and. It's a very improv-y answer.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Well, so you heard it here, folks. If you are an MSP already dealing with a hybrid situation or wanting to get into a hybrid situation and don't know how to secure your Apple computers, talk to another MSP. That's Justin at Virtual Computers. We'll put his contact information into the show notes so you can get a hold of him later on. And with that, thank you all for joining us. Justin, thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoyed the conversation. We'll look forward to continuing that. And maybe we'll come back for a Google Workspace chat another time. But for those of you who enjoyed the no, Mike, we're going to get into Google Workspace one of these days here, whether you like it or not. But if you enjoyed today's content, please do share this episode with a friend. If you joined us for the first time, hitting that follow button helps others discover us in the future. It means you won't miss an episode. And as always, you can submit your own questions at blacksmithinfosec.com/ask. We'll be happy to answer those on an upcoming episode. With that, see you all next week. Thanks so much. Get NIST.